We all know it's important to stay in good physical shape, so every year we get a checkup with the doctor to make sure we're on track. But what about our finances? If you're looking to retire, it's incredibly important to have those in good shape too. That's where Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus comes in. She's been guiding her clients to and through retirement for over 30 years, making sure their retirement accounts are prepared to go the distance. It's time to retire financially fit with Phillis. Here's your host, Jen Rizak.
Resolutions are easy to make and even easier to break, but it is time to look ahead and think about practical goals for the new year and beyond. If this is something you could use some guidance on creating and sticking to your financial goals, the number I want you to take down right now is 623-792-5496 so you can reach Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus for some help. Thanks so much for joining us this morning on Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. I am Jen Rizak, happy to be here alongside Phillis. She is founder and president of PSP & Associates, author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. And it's hard to believe that we're talking about things like New Year's resolutions, but we actually have to start thinking about this, Phillis, and it's just kind of a natural time of year to think about that restart and that reset. But I know in all reality, we probably want to look a little bit beyond just New Year's resolutions. But still, it's kind of a good place to start, I think, when we're talking about goals.
Yeah, you know I'm kind of the Scrooge when you mention New Year's resolutions. I'm one of those who being a prior gym rat before I had my own gym in my house, where, the beginning of the year, everybody sets that goal.
Yes.
And by 2 months in, those people who set the goal to go to the gym each week, it just wasn't realistic and they didn't keep it. So having said that, I'm really not the Scrooge because, just as a business owner, the new year starts, the fiscal year, you set up goals. What are your expectations? They're kind of short range and then, based upon your long range vision for my company in this case. So I could see that, but the long range vision for your retirement and everything else should really be the precipitator for short-term goals. If you don't know where you want to go over the long term and then break it down into bite-sized pieces, I think it's just, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think as you were talking about that, I kind of came up with a parallel in my head, with how we handle our money, that kind of bucket strategy when it's like, here's the money I need for short term, here's
That's
something
right.
I need kind of for midterm, and here's something for long term. We can kind of do our goals that way and recognize, hey, here's some things I want to accomplish in the next 2 months. Here's some things I want to accomplish in the first half of the year. And here's a longer term goal. There's kind of a parallel there, I think, when we're talking about how we organize our finances almost.
Absolutely.
Right?
Start with the end in mind, figure out where you want to go, and then back into it and break it down into bite-sized pieces, as I always say. And those short-term goals, you have to have some. And even when we build a plan for retirement, there's your short-term money that we assign one job, there's your mid-term money that we assign another job, and there's your long-term money. So absolutely, with any goal like that. And by the way, I do have a personal goal.
Do you?
Okay. I do.
Okay.
Well, besides the usual to work out every day and kind of lose weight, which is difficult the older I get. But somewhere along the line, my Friday night date nights got washed into, got hijacked. So we are going to definitely start with that because that's just a good thing.
I like that one.
That's just a good thing. Yeah.
I like that one. And those are the kinds of goals that I like also. Those are very reasonable. They're very attainable. And it's just something that makes sense to figure out a way to dedicate that time with somebody. I think those are cool goals to have. So I think that's a good one. And I hope that one, I hope Harry's on board with that one.
I think a happy wife is a happy life. So I would imagine so. I would imagine, going on 38 years. So I would imagine, was it 39? I don't want to say it too loud. I think it's 39.
38, 39. Close enough.
Yeah,
Close enough.
yeah, quite a while.
Well, but I like when we talk about setting goals that are reasonable. It's really easy to do these. We want to dream big sometimes, but we also don't want to set ourselves up for failure. And I think that's the thing when we talk about resolutions. So many million people make these resolutions. And Phyllis, an estimated 23 million Americans don't believe that their resolution is actually within reach. So then we're setting ourselves up for failure when we're setting goals that are too big or we don't have a clear way to even get there. Talk a little bit about that, especially when you're talking about financial goals, like setting something that's attainable so you aren't setting yourself up for failure again and again and again.
Yeah, that's so important. It's like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. You're 50 pounds overweight. Not to say that you can't get there, but I'm going to compete in 6 months
right.
or
setting it too short. Right. For
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. Just so, you're going to give up if all of a sudden you're not getting results. Same thing with financial. The most important thing is, and I say this a lot, I say it jokingly, but I mean it. I'm not Houdini when it comes to setting up somebody's retirement plan. You can't expect to, have 20 grand a month of income if, you've barely saved $500,000. So it's got to be, the goals have got to be realistic. But having said that, most people have saved enough money that if they just do the right things with it in retirement, put it in the right places, get the risk right, get the tax strategy right, have a plan for health care, make sure that they're not having all their fees eat up their returns. If they get that right, they can have a realistic retirement so that they live independently on their own terms. So let's understand what our lifestyle, what we want it to be like, and then let's make sure that we have enough money put in the right places to accomplish that. Mm-hmm. But the two have got to mesh. There's got to be a synergy. You just can't just take it out of thin air and say, oh yeah, I want X amount of dollars a year and I'm going to get there to live on, and you haven't saved enough.
Right.
They've got to mesh. Absolutely.
Well, they do, and I think this is where we talk a little bit about, Phyllis, getting that analysis of what we have going on with our money, because you can't really set realistic goals for yourself if you don't really have a good handle on where you are right now. And so it all starts with that analysis, making sure that we know what's going on with our money, and then we start working from there when it comes to building our goals and mapping out steps toward reaching those goals. But it all starts with your Retire Fit analysis, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've got to know where you want to go and back into it to see where you are. I know a lot of you listening today, you're worried that you haven't saved enough or that you won't even be able to retire. I know that most of you don't have a written financial plan, and a written financial plan can really help you feel more financially stable. So you don't have to be one of those people worried if your money will last or if you can even afford to retire. We have a process for helping you create an income strategy, and we can start with what we call our Retire Fit analysis. It all starts with that. So if you're listening to me right now and you don't have an income strategy that shows you what you can realistically spend in retirement so that you don't outlive your money, I want you to pick up the phone and I want you to call us at 623-792-5496. I invite you to call me so that we can help you with creating a budget to figure out how much you'll need for the retirement that you've been dreaming of. Uncover the main risk posing a threat to your retirement, including inflation. Inflation never sleeps. I've been saying that for years, but now look what's happening. Everybody's seeing that. We've got to have a plan for that. Stock market volatility. Is that a possibility with this great market that we've seen overall? Of course it is. Potential tax increases. Is that something with all the money that we're spending? How could taxes not increase at some point in time? And skyrocketing healthcare costs. We gotta have a plan that exposes those threats and virtually annihilates those. Got to learn about the options for generating income in retirement. Paycheck goes away. How do we make sure we know how to wring out every dollar and cent from Social Security? There's lots of different strategies. Let's look at that. How do we take what took you a lifetime to accumulate and set up your plan so that you have reliable, inflation-adjusted income that's going to last as long as you last? And I want you to learn about how to keep your current standard of living in retirement, even as these costs keep rising. So it's complimentary to do this analysis, and there's no obligation. But you do need to have saved some money for retirement, at least at $250,000 or more, to really be able to be in a situation to put together that plan. And the number to call for this is 623-792-5496, 623-792-5496. If you prefer, you can go to our website, retirewithpsp.com. You can pull up our Calendly link and get on our calendar for a conversation.
623-792-5496 is that number again. And so important to just have that conversation to get started because, again, Phyllis, we can be so short-sighted with our goals. We can make so many assumptions. And you just listed off a couple of real big risks that we need to be aware of, especially when we're thinking about long-term planning. I mean, you mentioned inflation and what's going on with inflation right now. Think about how that could play out over the next 20 or 30 or 40 years. This is why it is so important to get that analysis done so you can have a plan in place to take that head on, because inflation never sleeps, like you said, taxes, there's just a lot of risks out there.
Yeah, I mean, really, right now, if you can think about this, inflation, all the money that we spend, taxes going up, the market having been so good for so long. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer, but let's face it, if you need that money tomorrow and you've worked really hard and you've saved enough, now is the time to absolutely take a look at where you want to be in retirement, create that budget, and make sure no matter what happens in the short term, that your long-term strategy is going to help you navigate it. 623-792-5496. No obligation, complimentary, except you got to put in your time.
There you go. 623-792-5496. Just a little time is what you need to be willing to spend. When you think about what's at stake here with your financial future and retirement, I think that would probably be worth that investment of a little time. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Scott from PSP and Associates. I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Time for today's trivia question. How much of an increase will Social Security benefits be in 2022? Is it A, 2.8% or B, 5.9%? The answer coming up in 60 seconds.
If you owed almost $28 trillion and you didn't have the money to pay it off, what would you need to do? Make a lot more money, right? Well, now America's debt is more than $28 trillion, and taxes are at historically low levels. It doesn't take a genius to realize taxes will probably go up. Now, think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now, when rates are low, or later, when rates are much higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Phillis, Sachs Pilvinus, and the team at PSP and Associates know what to look for. Call 623-792-5496 to set up a visit with Phillis, Sachs Pilvinus, and the team at PSP and Associates. That's 623-792-5496. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call now, 623-792-5496. Firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor.
How much of an increase will Social Security benefits be in 2022? Is it A, 2.8% or B, 5.9%? The answer is B, 5.9% in 2022. To see how that affects your finances, contact PSP and Associates today at 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496.
Thanks for joining us today on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. She is the author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, and we've been talking today about the concerns people have about running out of money in retirement. Now, we all know we need income in retirement. We're going to have bills to pay, and if we want to take those vacations, there's got to be a way to pay for it. But one thing we might not know is how all those different income sources, all those different retirement accounts will end up being taxed. You have Phyllis, I've heard you say this before, we have a silent partner in so many of these places where we put our money, and a lot of times we don't even realize it, or we don't realize the impact there.
Oh, yeah, I've got to tell you, this is one of the biggest surprises for people when they come in to see me, when I show them their future tax liability. They have no idea, really, or they hadn't thought about. Nobody talked to them about that tax bomb that's just lurking in the future. I don't know about you, Jen, but I really believe that with all the spending, and I think this is a nonpartisan statement, with all the spending going on, taxes are going to go up. It's just a matter of when, and it will show up for everybody. This is one of the biggest areas. This is why I call it the redheaded stepchild. Most people are not talked to about, don't understand this. Nobody's talking to them about this future tax liability. They're making money on their accounts. But if they're, pre-tax accounts, they're making that money, most of it for Uncle Sam and not themselves. So this is huge. This is really, really important. And part of our Retire Fit analysis breaks it down in real simple terms. One piece of it is we have 3 different tax buckets, and we take where your investments are right now, and we show you what's always taxed, what's going to be taxed later, and what's going to be taxed probably never. And when people see those buckets and they see what's always being taxed and what's going to be taxed later, it becomes really clear that perhaps they have a future tax bomb. And most people coming into me, if they retire in their 60s, come in saying, geesh, my taxes are a lot lower than they were before. I don't really have a tax problem, because they're usually using their money that they've already paid taxes on and their Social Security and maybe a pension. But what they don't realize is they've got their pre-tax retirement account just growing and growing and growing for the future when Uncle Sam comes knocking at required minimum distribution age, which is age 72 now, unless you turned 70 and a half before they changed that rule in 2019 under the Secure Act. Mm-hmm. And that's just a big bomb lurking. So to break down some of the areas that you want to consider, some of the things you want to consider now about taxes is, how are they taxed? Any account where you've yet to pay the taxes, you will pay them. Those are your pre-tax accounts, which sounded great when you were saving into them. Your 401ks, your 403bs, your 457s, your IRAs. You have not paid a penny of taxes on that. So when that comes out, you're going to pay taxes, and that can be a huge tax bomb, something you need to be aware of. Mm-hmm. Not only will you pay taxes on those dollars, but your Social Security could potentially be taxed even higher than it might already be taxed, because there's thresholds in retirement. If you earn too much, they're going to go back and tax up to 85% of your Social Security.
Wow. Yeah,
that's huge. And your pensions, they're taxed, they're ordinary income, just like a paycheck, minus the payroll taxes. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people have mutual funds in a trust account or a brokerage account. And what they don't realize is they're getting a lot of phantom income. And I call it phantom income because when you have a mutual fund, you don't own the shares of the individual stocks. You own shares in the mutual fund. So when something's traded inside that fund, the actual shares, they pass on the gains to you. By law, they have to. Even if you didn't benefit from that, you're going to get a capital gains tax that you have to show on your tax return. I just showed this to somebody else the other day, and they happen to be affluent clients. They have a trust account that they're not using that money. And just because of capital gains and dividends that they earned last year, they volunteered, as I would say, to add about $25,000 to their tax return. They had no idea.
Whoa.
They had no idea.
Wow.
So you want to understand how how everything in your brokerage account is taxed and whether you could be more efficient. A lot of people don't realize if you have municipal bonds, that still counts towards the calculation for the tax on your Social Security. If you've got those CDs in the bank, certificates of disappointment, that feeble interest that you earn is taxed. You get a 1099 every year, and you're going to pay tax on that.
Nickel and dime you on some of those things.
Gosh.
Right.
Your dividends in your stock portfolio, some of those have preferential treatment called qualified dividends, but some of them are ordinary income. So we need to know all of this, and it's huge. I got to tell you, and this surprises people because no, I am not a CPA. We work closely with CPAs to check the accuracy of our numbers. But one of the biggest areas that we're able to help people in is tax planning. When you understand how everything is taxed in your holdings, and you understand what it's going to cost you over your lifetime in taxes, just at the rates we currently know, and then we back into it and set up a proper distribution strategy, taking it from the right places at the right times, you really, for the first time in your life, can control your taxes in a big way. We help people save tens of thousands of dollars by understanding their future tax liability and how everything they own is being taxed and moving things around accordingly. It's huge. If you're listening today and you don't know how everything you have is being taxed, or the rhyme or reason, or whether you're as tax efficient as you can be, or whether there's a bomb in your future, gosh, you need to pick up the phone. You need to call us and let us do a tax analysis, 2 pieces. Again, we'll do those little tax buckets that will show you how everything you own is being taxed, when and how, what rate, and it's eye-opening. And then we'll take if you have a retirement account, like most people, a pre-tax account, we'll show you that future tax liability. And I'll tell you to hold on tight because most people have no idea what's coming down the road. So pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. At a minimum, let us run that for you.
That number again, 623-792-5496. Such an important conversation today to talk a little bit about some of our different options for income and retirement, and then understanding what's going on the tax side of this. Phyllis, what do you say? Should we go ahead and get into a mailbag question? We have a few minutes before we're out of time today. And,
sure.
Got a question here from Marty in Sun City who wants to know how to learn if a Roth conversion is a strategy that he should be using. So what are some things to think about there when it comes to that Roth conversion idea?
Hey, Marty, great question. Thanks for asking it, because I know that's on a lot of people's mind. And the question to this is, it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. You got to know all of your circumstances, do a tax analysis, but more than likely, with tax rates going up, it certainly is something that everybody should be looking at. Let's do the math. Let's figure out the numbers to see what your tax liability is now and what it will be later if you delay taking money out of your retirement accounts or doing Roth conversions. So the answer to that question really, Marty, is let's do an analysis. Let's let verified numbers speak for itself, or get one done somewhere else, but we're happy to help you. That's the key. But asking the question and getting the answers is fundamentally important to getting it right. So I welcome you and anybody else who hasn't investigated the numbers regarding Roth conversions to pick up the phone and call us. Let us put the numbers in front of you. No obligation. It's complimentary. 623-792-5496. Let's understand that. Really important question. One of the biggest reasons that people have an issue is they follow what their rich cousin did, or they follow what their neighbor did, and it really may not be applicable for you. So at this point, it's not a matter of if, but when taxes are going to go up. And here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to assume that you won't be impacted. I want to help you learn about ways to reduce or possibly eliminate taxes in retirement. So the number to call is 623-792-5496.
It could mean tens of thousands of dollars back in your pocket. 623-792-5496. That's all the time we have for this week. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. See you then. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. PSP Financial Services is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. PSP Financial Services, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.